Hi, this is Dr. John Greisel, and this is one of three videos on President Eisenhower and his doctrine of waging peace, connected to a doctrine of mutual security, connected to his belief in foundational principles. This is on our channel on foundational principles. And this is because it is about President Eisenhower's true belief in what he called fixed principles, his belief they were vital for America, and how they framed his thinking, and how maybe we should revisit them to see if they shouldn't frame our thinking again. President Eisenhower introduced in his first inaugural address very clearly the idea, or the claim, that America was based on fixed principles. And he actually listed what he felt were the fixed principles of America. And these included a boring war as a chosen way to solve problems. Didn't mean you never fought a war, but you abhorred the possibility. At the same time, a second principle was never placating an aggressor, never trading your honor for security. The third was basically seeing our nation and our security, and therefore our own role, as one of a stewardship and a trust. The fourth one had to do with basically realizing the special heritage and identity of other nations, that it isn't only about America, but it's about all the nations of the world. Another was assessing realistically the needs and strengths of our friends and allies, and what had to be done and what we could do to help them in partnership. Another one was to strive for everywhere in the world to remove the impoverishment that affects the well-being of all people. Another one was to appreciate that actually our success, and this gets back to his whole concepts of mutuality, involved getting people, begin with the people in different regions of the world to begin to create special bonds of mutual assistance. And in doing so, another one was that we hold all these people and all these continents in equal regard and honor. And lastly, that we look and respect the United Nations as a living symbol of people's hope for peace. Now, his first inaugural address, which you could see on the web, and articulates them and is truly worth looking at. He then took these principles and he tried to apply them in creating a program, as I explained in my other videos, both for immediate foreign assistance in addressing the needs of other countries, particularly the new countries of the world that he knew were trying to establish their identities and were having to choose between the ideologies of communism and capitalism, and also to establish a larger program of what he called waging peace, which was beyond immediate assistance to actually change America. So we would realize that by systematically, over a long period of time, actually investing resources in what was necessary to create this interdependent world of mutual prosperity, would feel and understand that it had to be built on principles, and it had to express our principles, and in fact, it was in our own interest as well, because it would be the only way we would alleviate ourselves from the burdens of the costs of war. Now, his first inaugural address expressed his fixed principles. There's a very interesting series of exchanges. They're not published. We will be publishing them between him and particularly C.D. Jackson, who was an aide of his, helping to craft this idea, in which he clearly articulates that in trying to express things to the American people, he has tried to express these principles and created a moral basis. He has tried to also create in them an awareness of the realistic practicality in terms of our own security. And he has tried to get people to see how it, in fact, is a necessity in terms of our own financial sustainability. And in fact, he reached a point where he then said the missing link is to actually get it down to American people understanding how this connects to their normal lives. So here we have his fixed principles for America as a nation. Then we actually see these conversations how he insisted that the policies themselves be based on principles and be explained out in principles. But eventually, he felt the only hope was the American people themselves, because Congress itself didn't seem to be an institution in which fixed principles really mattered that much. There's a address that he was supposed to give at Fordham University, but never gave. But in fact, a draft of this is available. And what's so interesting about that particular speech is he particularly, and you see it, he handwrites in his notes. He was not a man who had just others write his speech. He specifically says that he is giving this speech at Fordham University because of the history of Fordham and because it represents the world of the importance of man's spirituality. And what he would have said to those students had he gave that speech was that there is the role of government in ensuring, not demanding, not determining, but ensuring that the prosperity and freedom of people include the ability to meet their economic, social, political, and spiritual needs. And that this is not only a matter of individuality, but is tied into our very purpose for being, which is that of stewardship, and our very purpose of the American nation, which in some sense, in his mind, was also one of stewardship, not just for the American nation, but for free people everywhere. That speech may well have been one of the last truly sincere speeches in American history by an American leader on why pragmatics and realism, why incredibly important, has to be built on a foundation of fixed principles. And had we listened, had we even remembered, not only would our America be different today, but some of the critical choices that we have been making might have come out and would have been quite different. And in this regard, it's very important to realize that Eisenhower did not see this argument as an argument of just high principle, but quite the opposite, as an argument of ultimate realism. And he pointed out how in our history these were actually the most solid, secure, and enduring guides on which we could depend and had to depend to remain who we are and who we want to be.